Hello, fifth graders. We're starting our first math unit today. We're going to be looking at chapter 1 in your 5A textbook. And so that's going to be a unit on whole numbers. So our objectives for today, we're going to be working on writing numbers in standard form, expanded form, and words. And we're actually going to take a couple notes about what that all means so that you can refer back to that as the year goes along. In addition, we're going to eventually be working on comparing numbers, and particularly large numbers, seeing which one are they bigger, smaller, or equal to one another. So as we're getting prepared to go through today's lesson, you're going to need a few things. So I'm going to show you what they are, and I encourage you to pause the video to go get those things. So you'll want to have your 5A textbook, your 5A workbook, your math resource binder, and then you'll need paper and a pencil, or if you have a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker, you could use that as well. So again, pause, get these things ready, and then come on back. So as we're getting into today's video, I want to remind you what I told you yesterday, which is that this video is not just for you to play and kind of be hearing. I want you to use this to learn as much as you can as we're going. So what does that mean? That means that I want you not just watching me do the work, but also work along with me, okay? Pause the video so that you can try the problems and then compare your answers with mine and see how you did. Rewatch it if you're feeling confused. So we're working on learning as much as we can and using that video to do so, okay? So your math resource binder will have things in there that you can use as a reference throughout the year that'll be helpful to you. So the first thing you see in that math resource binder should be this place value chart, okay? And then in your textbook, you'll see it says textbook, okay? You want to go ahead and open to page 8 in the textbook. And you'll see on there that we have a pretty similar place value chart to the one that I gave you. Pretty similar. There are some differences. So I'm going to go ahead and actually flip this around so that you can see what we're going to be talking about. So the biggest difference between the place value chart that I gave you and the one in your textbook is that the one in your textbook, this is a unit on whole numbers, and so all of these are going to be whole number place values. Okay, so we see the ones, this is all of our ones, are less than 1,000. So we have ones place value, tens, and hundreds, okay? And then we see ones for thousands, meaning 1,000s, or 10,000s, or 100,000s. Then 1 millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, 1 billions, 10 billions, 100 billions. Okay, so you'll see kind of actually a little bit of difference. The one that I gave you includes those commas. Okay, so that kind of helps you to tell where you're grouping in your numbers of 3. Okay, I also didn't provide these descriptions, but it's a pattern. As you're looking here, we're always going to be looking at ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. You'll see that I also included decimals for you. That's our decimal point, and this is going to be useful as we're moving forward in the year. Okay, so what I would actually like you to do is to take this place value chart that you have, and we're going to flip on the back and just take a couple notes related to what our objectives for today. So remember, as I am writing things down, you should feel free to pause in order to get these notes. So we talked about 3 forms. So our standard form, so go ahead and write this down on the back of your place value chart. Standard form is, again, thinking of standard, sort of our usual, our typical form. So when we're talking about standard form, it's the way that you're usually or standardly going to see numbers written. So an example of a standard form number would be something like this. And yes, I want you to write this down. So you'll notice with standard form, right, we're grouping our numbers in 3s with our comma, and this is kind of what helps us to know the order in which, or the grouping in which these numbers are in place, okay? Now, we're going to talk about expanded form. So expanded form, is when we take each digit and show its place value by putting zeros behind it. And then we're going to add these all together, okay? So if we're doing expanded form, we want to start with the first digit, which is a 5. But we need to be careful because this isn't 5 ones, right? There's actually all these place values after it. So we say 5, and then we want to turn that into a 0. And then we see 0, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. So that's the first part of our expanded form. Then we put an addition sign and go to our next digit, which is a 6. And then we look at all these zeros. So we have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so again, this isn't 6 ones, this is 6 hundred thousands. Now we go to our next digit, which is a 3. And then we look at turning all of these into a 0 place value. Okay, so we say 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. So again, this isn't 3, it's 300,000. Plus, we go to our next digit, 2, and then we add our zeros, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. Addition sign. So our next digit here is a 0, and if it's a 0, we don't have to include it in our expanded form. Anytime you see a 0 in your number and you're writing an expanded form, you just skip it. You don't have to write it down. So we can go from 0, we can just go right on over to our 4. And again, this isn't 4 ones, it's 4 tens. And so we see that that has 1 0 after it, so we should say 40. And we have our last digit, which is a 3. This is 3 ones. There are no digits after it, so we should have no zeros after it. So when you're asked to write something in expanded form, this is what it's going to look like, okay? And then finally, when we're talking about writing this out in words, as you guys are thinking about how you're going to write these numbers in words, you want to group them according to each comma. So we're going to consider each of the parts that are separated by a comma is going to be its own unit, okay? So we start looking here at this number, which is separated by its own comma. So if we were to read that number, we would read that 56, okay? So that part should be the same. It is 56, but it's not 56 ones, it's 56 what? And this is where you could look at your place value chart to help you out. So we have our 56 here, so it's 56 what? 56 million, okay? So we would write 56 million. Now we look at the next chunk. We see these 3 numbers. How would we say that? That's 321. But again, it's not 321, it's 321,000. So 321,000. And now we look at our last unit. And it should say 43. And in this case, it is 43 ones. So we would just say 43. So we have standard form, we have expanded form, and then we have written form, which is 56 million, or words form, 56,321,043. So again, if you need to pause to make sure that you can get all these notes written down, of course, please do so. And then when you're done, you can press play again. So we're going to be looking at our textbook now. And we're going to be looking at page 9 and working through some of these problems together. So remember that our first objective is being able to write numbers in standard form, expanded form, or in words. And so these notes on the back of your place value chart will be useful to you. So we're going to start actually with number 2. So we're going to focus on that for our learning for today. So we have 3 examples of large numbers, and we're being asked to write them in words and in expanded form. So as a reminder, the form that we're being given right now is called standard form. Okay, this is how we typically would be writing our numbers. So we see them in standard form, and we're going to be working on writing them in words and in expanded form. So let's start with expanded form as we're working on these problems, expanded form. So part A, remember our process. We're going to start with our first digit, which is 3. And then we turn everything after it into a 0. So 3, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. Then we put our addition sign. And we look at our next digit, and more specifically, our next non-zero digit, which is a 4. And then we turn everything after that into a 0. So we say 4, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. Put our addition sign. The next digit over is a 0, so remember we skip that and go on, and we see our 6. So we write a 6, and then after that, 2 zeros. And you'll notice that there are no more non-zero digits in this problem. So if we're writing expanded form, we'd write 300,000 plus 40,000 plus 600. So this would be our expanded form. We're also being asked to write it in words. So remember, when we're writing in words, we want to group things according to the commas. So we start with this first set of 3 numbers. How would we say just those 3 numbers? Remember, we see it and we say 340. So we would write 340, but it's not 340 ones. Remember, it's 340,000. 340,000. And now we look at the next grouping with the commas, which is 600. And this is the ones place. So we would write this 340,600. Let's try part B together, and then I'm going to ask you to do part C on your own. So again, part B, we're going to be writing it in expanded form. So we start with our first non-zero digit, which is 5. Everything after that becomes a 0. So 5, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. Plus. Now we're trying to find our next non-zero digit. Okay, so we skip this one and go to our 4. And remember, everything after that becomes a 0. So 4, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0. Plus 9, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0, plus 3, comma, 0, 0, 0, plus 4, 0, 0. And every other number after that, for every other digit, is a 0, so we don't have to worry about it. So this would be our expanded form. And now we want to practice writing it in words. So remember, we're grouping according to our commas. So we look at this first grouping, which is 50. But we say 50 what? So we look at our place value chart. 50, it's in this set of commas, so 50 million. Now we look at our next set. 493. Again, 493 what? We look at our place value chart. 493,000. And then we look at our last set, 400. And this is ones, 400. So our written in words would be 50,493,400. All right, part C is a bit of a challenge. We're getting all the way up to our billions grouping, but I'd love for you to pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back and see how you did. All right, I'm going to go a little quicker as I'm showing the answer to this one because you guys should have already done it. So remember, for expanded form, you start with that first digit and everything after it turns into a 0. So for this 3, you should have 10 zeros after it. Then we have 4 with 9 zeros after it. We go on to the next 3, and then you should have 7 zeros after it. Remember, we skip any 0 digits in expanded form. Then we go to 4 with 6 zeros after it. We can skip these 2 zeros and go to 5, which should have 3 zeros after it, plus 1 with 2 zeros after it, plus 8 with 1 0 after it, plus 2. So this should be your expanded form, and you really want to make sure, do you have the right number of zeros? Okay, and then when we're writing it out in words, remember we're going according to commas. So we start with 34. 34 what? This is a very big number, so it's 34 billion. Now we look at our next grouping, which is again 34. 34 what? In this case, it's 34 million. Our next grouping is 5. This should be 5,000. And then finally, our last grouping, which is 182. So writing this out in words, you should have 34 billion, 34 million, 5,182. Okay, so far, if we're looking at our objectives, we've worked on writing numbers in standard form, expanded form, and in words. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of kind of going back the other direction. So you're going to go ahead and turn the page to page 10 in your textbook. We're going to quickly take a look at number 4. We're going the other direction. We're going back from expanded form to standard form. Okay. So you'll notice that they're always starting with the biggest number. Okay, when we're doing from expanded form to standard form, we're always going to start with the largest number. So one thing that you could do is kind of a trick to make sure that you're getting the right number of digits would be, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So you could do that in your answer. So we have a 1, comma, 3 more spaces, comma, 3 more spaces. So you want to make sure your answer should also have the same number of spaces as this largest number, okay? So looking here, we see that this is 3 million. So we can put that 3 in the million space, okay? Our next number down isn't until the hundreds place, which means everything between that is going to be a 0. Now we see 400, and then our next place is the ones place. So we can put a 0 there, and then a 4. So this is one way that you can go from the expanded form to standard form. And right after I said that, we see our second example actually doesn't have the largest number first. So we have the tens place here, millions, thousands, 10 millions, and ones. So this is actually our largest number, is the 10 million. So our answer should have 8 digits in it. Okay, so we'd have 2 spaces and a comma, 3 spaces and a comma, and then 3 spaces. So looking at our biggest number, or we can even start with our tens place, we see that we have 6 tens. So we would want to find our tens place and put a 6 there. Then we have 1 million. So we want to find our millions place and put our 1 there. 5,000, we would put our 5 in the thousands place. 20 million, Our 2 goes there, and then a 4. And so now we have all these empty spaces. So what do we do with it? We can fill those in with zeros. So this would be how we're taking this expanded form number and putting it into standard form. Okay, 5th graders, I said that we were going to be comparing numbers today, but we are also going to stop there. You have been doing a lot of work so far, so we're going to stop and we'll work on comparing numbers in tomorrow's lesson, okay? So, for homework, you are going to be working in your workbook, okay? So, we actually will have, I'm going to put first, I should say before homework, there will be a practice assignment. And that practice assignment is going to have the key provided. So remember what I said about this, that when you have the key, the purpose is not for you to just go copy all the answers down. You're going to try this practice assignment, and then you're going to check the key. And if you get an answer wrong, remember that your goal then is to see if you can figure out what went wrong, figure out where the mistake came from. If you can figure out where the mistake came from, that's great. You can go ahead and change it once you figure out where the mistake came from. If you are having a time where you cannot figure out why you got the problem wrong, that is a great time to send a message to me, a private message, and ask for help. Remember that I have office hours every day, and so does Mr. Tom Habe. So those are other options, is to come to office hours or to request to meet with us during office hours to help you to understand what went wrong with your practice. Okay, so yes, I'm giving you the key for the practice, but it's not for you to copy, right? It's for you to use it as a learning opportunity, okay? And then for homework, you're going to work on, in your workbook, this is going to be, again, my workbook's a little bit worse for wear, but you're going to get into your workbook looking at pages 5 through 6, but I want you to stop at number 5. So you're going to do only numbers 1 through 4. 5 is asking you to do that comparison, and we're not going to work on that till tomorrow. So workbook pages 5 through 6, numbers 1 through 4. And when you're done completing those workbook pictures or pages, you're going to take a picture and then upload it. And remember, we talked a little bit about this. When you guys are taking a picture and uploading it, you want to make sure that you are in a bright space. You want to get your workbook as close to the camera as you can without cutting any parts off, and you want to hold it nice and still so it's not blurry. All right, 5th graders, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Pop into office hours with Mr. Tom Habe, send me a message during my office hours and we can chat more about it.